Hey everybody, got another Anthem related video for you guys today, and when I say that PCGamer are wrong about Anthem, I don't necessarily mean what they said, because the game is, yes, unfinished. It could have stood to be developed a little bit more, put some more into it, and there's some game-breaking bugs and general jankiness. Yeah, we get that, we all understand. Where I take issue are the abysmal scores that they gave the game. IGN gave it a 65 out of 100, which is about 10 points shy of what I would personally give it, and then PCGamer gave it a 50 freaking 5. That's terrible, and I'll go as far as to say that they are wrong. Those numbers are not a fair rating of the game as it is right now. And when I say that, I'm mainly looking at PCGamer, because I can't understand for the life of me why they took something like Fallout 76 and rated that 60 out of 100, and then rate Anthem 55. To me, that makes no sense whatsoever with how terrible that Fallout 76 launched as, and look at it now, it's still bad. That's not to say Fallout 76 hasn't improved, it's just there are so many underlying issues that can't be fixed. And that's where I'm coming from. Anthem doesn't have as many of those underlying things that can't be tweaked and fixed to make the game better. I just love how Anthem has the better graphics, the better facial animation, the better voice acting, the better lore, the NPCs in both the tower and in free play and in every mission, and it still is rated lower than Fallout freaking 76. IGN in this case is actually a little bit more fair, because they gave Fallout 76 a 50 or a 5, I mean, and Anthem a 60 or 6.5. So yeah, that's definitely a lot better and a lot more fair. And it's funny because I usually write off IGN reviews before PCGamer, but PCGamer really screwed up this time. Their biggest complaints, the reason they gave it a 55, is the loading times are way too long. Apparently on the guy's SSD, it takes 50 seconds to get into the open world, which is funny because my computer isn't quite as fast as his, and on my SSD it only takes about 25-30 seconds to do the same thing, and every other loading screen is like 5 seconds, if that. Their next issue is with the story, calling the characters and interactions you have with them like a phone call that's through glass. They say Fort Tarsis is a narrative prison, where your interactions with the characters never extend to the actual game world in which you fly javelins around, and that ultimately it reduces the characters in the story to charismatic MMO-style quest givers. And now I could see why they would think that, but I think that could be solved by a bit of a perspective change, going into it with your mind in a slightly different place, because they rated Destiny 2 and the Destiny 2 Forsaken expansion both 85 each time, and it's virtually the same in those games as it is in Anthem. Now, of course, I'm referring to the NPCs and how they interact with you as the player. It's virtually the same, but I would say Anthem goes a little above and beyond, because at least in Anthem, you have these freelancers, these NPCs that will fight alongside you that you oftentimes have to rescue or have to hold a point against with. And I know that Destiny 2 Forsaken kind of played around with that idea a little bit, but I feel that Anthem does it better. Do the NPCs in Anthem mean that it should get 85? No, not necessarily, but it should help a little. Then they go on to talk about how the loot and the gameplay is just far too repetitive, and of the handful of objectives, they just play the same over and over and over again. But here's the thing though, in Destiny, remind me, almost everything that you walked up to or interacted with, you sent your ghost into to like scan, and then you held out the point, and that was like a majority of objectives, wasn't it? Am I misremembering this? And then they found the loot repetitive, which I'm thinking like, aren't there as many gun types and gun varieties as there are in Destiny? If not, maybe a little bit more. I don't know the raw numbers, but they gotta be close. And yes, I know the early loot in Anthem is kind of bland. There's really no special things that the loot does, but the same thing goes for Destiny, because unless you have an exotic, it's not really going to do something super special. I know Destiny has some basic perks, and they might have an interesting perk here or there where you have like increased reloading speed on a kill, or a little bit more damage after a kill after you reload, that kind of thing. Whereas Anthem is more like passive damage bonuses increases, or increase to the magazine size, or to the ammo pool, or to other various statistics around you as a character. Things like extending the amount of time that your boosters are viable, or decreasing the delay on your shield regeneration, things like that. Honestly, the kind of thing that you would see on some really bad Destiny exotics. Not all of the passive perks in Anthem are Destiny exotic worthy, I mean far from it, but let's be honest here, the build diversity, even without taking into consideration the inscriptions from the Masterwork and Legendary gear in Anthem, is a step above all of the other loot shooters. Let me give you some examples to wet your whistle a little bit. For example, on my Storm Javelin, I have these Frost Shards that once I use them and freeze an enemy, then my detonation ability, or whatever my left bumper button ability is, will gain 125% damage boost for 20 seconds. I mean, for crying out loud, if you look at the PC Games review of Anthem, you'll notice that in there they say they had this Masterwork LMG that whenever you reloaded it, would combo and detonate any enemy around you that was already primed. That sounds super cool, right? Especially when you consider that you can have all Masterwork gear or even all Legendary gear, and you can have multiple effects on your character happening at once, making you feel like a god. And to this reviewer, the loot is boring. It is below Destiny. It is below the Division. It is below everything else somehow. How is this possible? This all ties into their complaints about the endgame, in which they say that it's just far too repetitive, where you're just doing the same stuff over and over again on higher difficulties, the same missions, the same 3 strongholds. I mean, I can understand the complaints about repetition. It is a little repetitive, but so was Diablo 3 on launch. So was every other looter shooter on launch. And granted, what the other looter shooters had on launch to help break up the monotony was some kind of PvP. Anthem doesn't have PvP, but what it does have is this unbridled feeling of power that allows you to feel like a god and create these amazingly powerful builds to decimate your enemies on the highest difficulties, because the devs aren't going to step in and nerf it if it's too strong, because it's encouraged. Because why wouldn't it be? There's no PvP. They can focus fully on PvE and making that experience the best it possibly can, which means being an overpowered god. Which is ironic, because the reviewers said that the Grandmaster difficulties were, quote, too difficult, and that he was getting one shot even though he had apparently all of this amazing gear. Well, no, that's not how this works. He must not have had this gear, because when you have a bunch of the Masterwork components, your health and your shields jump almost exponentially to the point where you can face tank almost everything with any javelin. I'm personally playing on Grandmaster 1 with my Storm, and I don't have any Masterwork components, and I still rarely find myself being one-shot. I don't know what this guy was doing wrong, but my health and my shields are not where they should be for Grandmaster, and I'm really not having that much of a problem. In fact, with the 2 measly Masterwork guns that I have right now, I find myself breezing through a majority of the content with my team. And by team, I mean random players with no mic coordination whatsoever, so take that as you will. To the reviewer's credit, he does make good points about the state of the game in terms that it's janky, it's buggy, and oftentimes broken, how sometimes missions won't complete and they'll just hang, or if you're me and you're playing quick play, I'll launch into a match to find out that it's already borked and that it can't be completed, so as soon as I spawn in, I have to exit, or I'll spawn into a match that's already like completed as I spawn in. That has happened a couple of times. So I get where he's coming from, and that the game is not perfect. It's broken in some, if not a lot of places. There are redundancies, there is vagueness, and of course the issues that I previously mentioned. A lot of stuff that Destiny 2 didn't necessarily suffer from as much. So I do get that. I just don't see how what Anthem does right, it does really, really right. Like, better than the competition levels of right. And what it does poorly shouldn't mean that it gets 30 less points in a review compared to its peers in the same genre. And PCGamer claims that a score, according to them, of 55 is average, or mediocre, or mundane. But to a lot of people, and they should realize this, to a lot of people, and to investors and everybody else in the industry, it means it's bad. It means it's trash, that it's unredeemable. I'm sure a lot of you, or at least some of you, have seen a lot of the Anthem hate spreading around on various places like Twitter and Reddit, and it's bad. And people know that because of low scores like this, that they can go on there and be like, ha, I knew this game was terrible. I wouldn't spend $5 on this. I'm gonna wait 6 months to a year to buy this game when it's 90% off. And do you know what wasn't even talked about but should have been? That should have been praised? Was the microtransaction system and the customization in Anthem that completely smokes all the competition out of the water. The Division had loot boxes. Destiny has loot boxes and non-permanent cosmetic paint jobs, whereas, yeah, no, Anthem, it's all about the permanent stuff. You get everything. You can use it as many times as you want. You don't have to worry about stockpiling, collecting different colors. There's no loot boxes. All you have is a simple store with things that you can purchase. Everything you can purchase with in-game currency. Like, that's pretty much the whole point of stockpiling in-game currency at this point, to buy those microtransactions in the store. And if you don't like what's in there, you just wait 2 to 4 days for the store to refresh, and you get a whole new palette to choose from. It's really good. It's a really good system. It's really fair. I don't even know how they're going to be making money from that store, because it's so fair. There are a lot of things in Anthem that leave some things to be desired, for sure, like the crafting and the other various redundancies, not having a dedicated stat page, and amongst a lot of other things, like voice chat for me not working at all. Like, people can hear me, but I can't hear them, and I can't communicate with them because there's no text chat or anything like that. That's all gonna come though, and what's here, what we have right now, is great and should be celebrated and enjoyed by those willing to look past the faults and the cracks and the redundancies to have fun with what's already there. So take what you hear from reviewers and influencers who are on YouTube or other social media like Reddit who are talking mad hate about this game, because 55 times out of 100 they don't know what they're talking about. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like, subscribe for more Anthem content, as well as some VR stuff down the road, and I will catch you guys next time.